Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at law of cosines. So last time we looked at law of sines, and with law of sines, we saw that we needed a pair. And if we had a pair, then it wasn't too bad of a transition or a problem for us to work through. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you guys. Law of cosines is more challenging. It's not that it's hard, it's just more challenging. Okay, because there's two big scenarios we have with law of cosines. And depending on which scenario we have, we work the problem a little bit different way. It's the same equation, which is nice, but it is a different process once we actually get stuff into the equation. So that being said, and just as kind of an overview of why law of cosines exists, so law of cosines gives us a side or an angle that we're missing so we can have a pair. So there's two cases where we don't have pairs, and that's side angle side and side side side. Okay, there's no way for us to, first off, we don't have a pair, and then there's no way for us to use law of sines or the 180 trick to get a pair. So we have to use law of cosines. Okay, now again, I realize law of cosines kind of looks a little gross, but I am going to show you the easier way to do this. If you notice, we've got A and A, B and B, C and C, okay? And then the other letters, so like I have A on this first one, right? And then the other letters are on the inside. I have B on this one. The other letters are on the inside. I have C on this one. The other letters are on the inside, okay? So it's one of those, it's kind of gross to set up, but once you get it set up, it's pretty okay. So it's just really remembering the formula. So I am going to let you use your notes on this test. So you do have those formulas, but I'm also going to show you today the easy way that I remember these formulas. Okay, so again, we've got two scenarios today. We've got side angle side and side side side. Okay, so for side angle side, that's like a triangle, right, where we have a side we know. So like this side, we have an angle we know, and then the side next to it. Okay, again, I don't have any pairs here. I would need this side to get the pair, and that's what we're going to find first. Once we find that, so that we avoid that ambiguous case where we end up with two triangles, we do want to find the smaller of the two remaining angles, but we'll look at that when we get to it. And then the other scenario we can have is all three sides, and then we are going to want to find that biggest angle first, again, so we can avoid the ambiguous case. So starting out, let's draw a triangle. So I've got A over here, and again, it doesn't really matter how you label them. Just remember that you are not drawing it to scale unless you know what it looks like to begin with, which we don't. So this is going to be 38 degrees. Little b is going to be 12, and big C is going, or little c is going to be 16. Okay, so if you notice, I do have that side angle side. Okay, now these are the slightly easier ones. These ones aren't too bad. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to figure out what we want to find. So anytime we're missing a side, anytime we have side angle side. So these are going to be the side angle side steps. Okay, so I want to find the last side. Okay, in this case, that's going to be little a. So I'm going to put those on the outside. So A is going on the outside. Whatever I'm looking for goes on the outside, and then whatever I have is going on the inside. Okay, so I have little b and little c. Those are going on the inside. Squared. Minus 2, always 2. B and c again, and then cosine. Okay, so what we're looking for on the outside, and then what we have on the inside. Okay, let's plug in everything we know. We don't know a squared. We do know b, it's 12. We do know c, it's 16. Minus 2. BC, so 12, squared. 16. And then cosine of a, which we do know is 38, big A. Okay. Now, in the calculator, what we're going to do here, if I notice, right, I've got a squared on the left, but I don't want a squared, I want a. So to find a, I just need to take square root of both sides. And I'm going to take square root of that whole thing. So I'm going to plug that in my calculator. I'm going to make sure that I'm in degrees. Otherwise, it's going to give me that wrong answer. And I'm going to do square root of 12 squared plus 16 squared minus 2, 12, 16, cosine of 38. Okay, now you're going to get kind of a gross number, and that's fine. So we get about 9.869. Okay, it does say in the nearest thousands, so we're going to get 3 decimal places. On your assignment today, you have a choice at this step. You can use that answer key, or you can just make sure you're rounding to 3 or 4 decimal places before the end. Okay, once you get to the very end, that's when you round it to the first decimal place like it asks. Okay, so in the middle, keep it at 3 or 4. At the end, round it to 1. Okay, so that's that last side. So it's approximately 9.869. Okay, now I do have a pair. So now I can use law of sines. Okay, so again, just like I told you last time, you're going to need law of sines. Make sure you're getting that practice in. So I want to find either B or C. Doesn't matter, or does matter, sorry. Does matter. It does matter which one we find first. I do want to find the smaller angle first. I know that B is a smaller angle because B is a smaller side. Okay, and then the pair we're going to use is A, so sine of 38 over 9.869. Okay, and then just like we did last time, times 12 times 12. Sine of B is equal to 12 sine of 38 over 9.869. Then to get rid of sine, just like last time, we're going to inverse sine both sides. Okay, head over to the calculator. So inverse sine of 12 sine of 38. Make sure we close off that parentheses. Divided by 9.869. Oops, I did something very wrong there. Hold on. Oh, no, that's right. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking I was finding a side for a second. That's right. That's an angle. Okay. 48.469. Okay. And then at this point, 180 trick. So 180 minus 38 that we had from the start, minus the one I just found. Okay, and you can always use the answer key for these. Oh, don't do it. Nice, please. Sorry, give me 1 second. Go ahead and throw it in degrees so I don't forget later. Okay, 180 minus 38 minus 48.469. And I get 95 or 93.531 degrees. Okay. And again, at this point in, you would go back and round all these. So 9.9, 48.5, and then 93.5. Okay. You do want to wait till the very end to round on big ideas. Otherwise, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Okay. Because you're going to do a rounding error. Okay. And that is side angle side. So side angle side isn't too terrible. Let's look at one more of those. So I'm going to skip down to example 3. I know it's kind of out of order. We'll go back to example 2 in a second. So same thing. So 11, 5, again, doesn't really matter. 20 degrees, C, little c, A, just that your A's and your B's and your C's are across from each other. Okay. Same setup. Okay, I'm looking for side C. So my C's are going on the outside, square with cosine. You're going to put A's and B's on the middle, minus 2AB. Plug in what you know. We don't know C, we're looking for that. 11 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 11 times 5 cosine of 20, square root both sides. Head it over to the calculator. 11, square root. Square root of 11 squared plus 5 squared minus 2, 11, 5 cosine of 20. I get about 6.529. Okay, using that in law of sines, I do want to find the smaller of my two sides here. So I'm going to want to find b here. So sine of b. Again, this just helps us avoid that ambiguous case with the donkey conjecture. And then I'm going to use c's, plugging on what I know. Times 5 times 5. Sine of b is equal to 5 sine of 20 over 6.59 or 529. Inverse sine both sides. Inverse sine. So then b is going to be inverse sine of 5 times sine of 20 divided by 6. And again, you could just push the second answer key if you want. Make sure you're going out to at least 3 decimal places. So I get 15.184 degrees. Okay, and then 180 trick minus 20 minus 15.184. 20 minus 15.184. I get 144.816. Okay, and then rounding this off for big ideas, I would say 6.5, 15.2, and then 144.8. Okay, and that's it. So that's it for if you have side angle side. So side angle side isn't too bad. Again, the steps, we want to set up our equation or set up our triangle, set up our equation, square root both sides, get that last side, use it in law of sines, 180 trick the last angle. Okay, now going back to side. Now these are the tricky ones. These are the ones that are the most challenging. So I'm going to put A, C over here. They are the easiest to set up because, you know which sides are your longest, your shortest, and such. And then what you're going to want to do on these is make sure that you find your biggest side for first. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me fix that. That is wrong. Set this up correctly, even though I just said it was easy. There we go. That's better. Okay, so big B, big A, big C. Okay, now, again, the rules on these ones are we have to find that longest side first, and then we avoid the ambiguous case. So we do want to, or longest angle first, biggest angle. So we use the longest side, biggest angle. Okay, so we're going to be using B's. So I'm looking for B. So what I'm looking for goes on the outsides. Cosine, actually, I'm going to move this up here, just give myself a little more space because we're going to need it. So, sorry, so B squared, big B, A squared, C squared, minus 2, always 2, AC, cosine of B. Okay, plugging in everything I know. So 16 squared equals 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2A. Oops, sorry, I know those. Come on. Okay, 2, 10, 8 cosine of B, which is what I'm looking for. Okay. Very close attention to what I'm about to do, okay, because this is the one that students mess up the most. It is done the exact same way every time. Okay, so again, if you need to pause it, if you need to watch it again, please do. This is the one that people mess up. Okay, so what you want to do is underline the 16 squared. You want to underline the 2. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, those are the things you want to underline. The first number, the next 2 numbers, and then the next 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3. You want to solve each of those parts. So I'm going to solve 16 squared. That's 256. I'm going to solve 10 squared plus 8 squared, okay, which will be 164 if I put it in the calculator. And then I'm going to solve 2 times 10 times negative 8, which should be 160. Okay, still minus. Cosine of B. Okay, now here's the most common mistake I see, and it's wrong. Please don't do it. Students want to subtract 164 and 160. You cannot do that. That would be like saying 2x plus 3 is 5x, and that is not okay. Okay, please do not do that. This 160 over here has a variable attached to it. You cannot combine those. Okay, so again, first step, 1, 2, 3. Second step, we want to move the first number over. And we're going to do that by subtracting. Always going to be subtracting. Okay. So this is going to turn into 92. That cancels. I'm left with negative 160 cosine of B. Okay. So I'm still trying to get B by itself. So I need to move this negative 160 over. And this is multiplication. So I'm going to divide. Okay. Now I know what you're thinking. Let's go ahead and divide that. Do not divide that. Okay, and then to get rid of cosine, we're going to use inverse cosine. Inverse cosine. Okay, so inverse cosine of 92 divided by negative 160. The reason you don't want to divide that and round it off is that's you'll get a rounding error more than likely. Okay, so I get 125.100 with rounding. It's kind of a weird rounding one, but that's where it rounds to. Okay, and that's my B. Now I have a pair, which again is the whole point of this whole process. I have a pair. Now I can use that pair to find a side. Okay, if you need to pause this because you're still getting it down, go ahead. I'm about to erase this so I have room to do the next step. Okay, again, steps here. 1, 2, 3. Subtract. Divide. Again, do not combine these. And then inverse cosine. Okay, here comes the erasing. Again, hopefully you paused if you needed to. Come on. All right. Now, at this point, I have a pair. I can use law of sines. And if you really like law of cosines, you can use law of cosines to find the other two angles, but it's just a lot harder, so I wouldn't. That's really annoying. All right. So I have my pair B. Okay. It doesn't matter if I find A or C for this point, because I'm going to 180 trick it in a second. So let's find A. So sine of A over little a. And I'm using B because I have both. Sine of A, little a is 10. Sine of B, which is 125.100 over B, which is 16. Just like we did on the last problem, times 10 times 10. Sine of A, 10. Sine of 125. Again, I can move that because 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 2. Multiplication is commutative. And then 16. Inverse sine both sides. Inverse sine this side. Throw that in the calculator. Hopefully I get a smaller angle. Okay, and again, I know I should get a smaller angle because I found the biggest angle. So this one has to be smaller. 0, 0, divided by 16. Okay, and I get 30 degrees, 30.733 degrees. Sure. Nope, sorry, 5.3. Okay, and then 180 trick it. So 180 minus the 125.100 minus 30.753. Nope, so nope. Sorry. 30.753. And I get 24.147 degrees. And that is my angle C. Okay, that makes sense. Smallest angle, smallest side, medium angle, medium side, biggest angle, biggest side. Okay, one more we're going to look at with side, side, side. Same process. I'm going to skip the last step, but do the rest. So 7, 5, C, B, and A, which means big A, big B, big C again, just across from each other. I want to find angle A because that's my largest side, so it's going to be my largest angle. So little a squared equals, so do that up there, some room. Little a squared equals big A cosine. Okay, B and C. B and C. Plugging in what I know, 9 squared equals 7 squared plus 5 squared minus 2, 7, 5 cosine of A, which is what I'm looking for. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 81 equals, it's going to be 49.25, so it should be 74 minus 70 cosine of A. Again, remember, do not combine this 74 and this 70. We're going to subtract the 74, or get positive 7, sorry, equals negative 70 cosine of A. Divide by that negative 70, divide by that negative 70. Seven over negative 70, sorry, wasn't quite ready for calculator yet. And then inverse cosine both sides. Again, please don't divide this, even though this one divides nicely. Please don't divide this, don't get in that habit. So we're going to do inverse cosine of 7 divided by negative 70. And I get 95.739 degrees, okay? And then I would use that with the pair for law of sines and then 180 trick, okay? So that's it. That's it for law of cosines. Not terrible, more tedious, more challenging, but not too bad. Just follow the steps, okay? Some students ask, can I use law of cosines for the rest of the sides and angles? Sure. At that second step, when I swap the law of sines, if you want to keep doing law of cosines, that's fine. Some people just really like law of cosines, but just be careful with that because it is more challenging. Next time we will look at area of a triangle finding the area of a triangle using sine, and then we will test next week. Please make sure that you're getting your assignments done, and I will see you guys next time.